Today we're taking a look at a really cheap e-bike, but it's got some impressive specs for 800 bucks, $799 these are selling for right now. This is the engwe L20 2.0, second version of this e-bike that they've made. So $800, but it's a 52 volt, 13 amp hour battery, I believe. So it should be decently powerful. 750 watt motor. It has the front suspension on it, but also has a seat, post suspension seat on it. But my past experience with those have been really good, and it feels like a real suspension bike for 800 bucks. And it's basically like a name brand too. Like Engwe, I've done many reviews on, and they're a pretty good company. So, but we'll see how it actually is. It's a folding, like a really minimalist frame. Anyway, so this is the L20 2.0. Let's get it out of the box and see if it's any good. Oh, these are cute tires. They're so cute. Okay, oh, it's a removable battery pack. Look at that, dude. Very practical looking bike, that's for sure. All right, let's just get it out of the box. See if I can get it to stand on its own. There we go. Lots of zip ties, that's for sure. I like this color too. I had an Engwe M20 back in the day. It was the exact same color, and that was still to this day one of my favorite bikes. But we'll see. This is a very different bike from that though, that's for sure. 800 bucks, not bad at all. This frame is tiny. Look at this thing. It doesn't have to be big because there's nothing inside it. It just has to be strong enough to hold the weight of a rider on it. So basically they just put all the dollars into powertrain, and the frame obviously probably doesn't cost them a ton to make because the material is not as much as usual, you know, other bikes. I guess first let's just show you guys the software. Pedal assist 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Came with 0.6 mile on it, so this is a brand new bike, just testing and whatnot. Let's see, top button, odometer, max speed, average speed, trip, odometer, max speed, average speed. Okay, cool. Headlight button, turns on and off the headlight. 7-speed Shimano shifter over here, and it's got a half throttle. I love these things. I am not a big fan of the thumb throttles. Those get so uncomfortable riding for more than like 30 minutes. So yeah, but you guys can see, nice color screen, definitely bright enough for me. Got a bell right here, which I will chime for you. Cable driven brakes. Here's a beautiful shot of the controls. You got your power button on the very bottom, couple buttons on the side and up and down. We got our 52 volt battery here. I think it's a 13 amp hour if I remember correctly. 750 watt hub motor there. They say it peaks at 1,150 watts. So for how light this bike is and how, you know, powerful the powertrain is, it should be decently powered just for, you know, daily commuting, riding, whatnot. One of the biggest things on this bike is it is a folding e-bike, so it's extra portable, it's super light. You could just throw it in a car or whatever. Obviously you have your clamping mechanism for the handlebar here as well. And this bike was obviously designed to be very practical. You have 2 racks on this thing, front and rear. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's the Engwe L20. I already have it on the charger, but I'm gonna get this thing fully charged up tomorrow, get this thing under a stress test and see how good it does. So to remove this battery pack, yes, it is removable, by the way. Take the seat out like this. This bike actually operates with a key. Not all e-bikes do. So if you take the key out and turn the battery off, the bike won't turn on anymore. So it's, you know, a safer method of, you know, storing your bike if you're in an area that people might take it, whatever. So it's on, off, and then you push and turn, and that unlocks the battery. And you can pull it straight out. You can bring it inside, charge it inside if you guys need to do that. And it's replaceable too. There's some e-bikes that it's actually built into the bike. And so if the battery dies, the whole bike is useless. But this one, you could just swap a battery pack if it ever goes out. If you ride it enough and you notice a deterioration of battery life, just buy a new one. It's probably pretty cheap too, I would expect. Let's take this out for a real quick first ride. For this clip, I'm gonna put my microphone on the ground so you guys can actually hear what it sounds like when it's driving by. All right, so that's what it sounds like just driving by. Really, really smooth bike though. It's like, it feels like a bigger bike than it is. The frame is thin, but it is a big bike, you know, like the riding position. I'm 6'3" and I could put the seat even higher, but I can barely flat foot it right here. Or I could put the seat lower. I could raise the handlebars to be like a freaking like bagger bike. But yeah, anyway, really quick, let's grab a brake test as well. Now, full disclosure, I actually did the range test yesterday, so this technically isn't my first time riding it. So I know that the brakes are actually much better than most e-bikes. So let's give you guys a brake test. All right, we're gonna get up to top speed. All right, and brake test. That was from top speed, dude. That was like 10 feet maybe. Not bad, dude. The brakes on this thing are, I feel like maybe just because it's such a light, like minimalist bike, it just speeds up and slows down really fast. Like you guys can see, it's a really thin type of bike. It looks like a small bike, but it's big enough to fit like a really tall person on here. Like I'm 6'3" and this thing would go many, many more inches upwards, like if I were even taller. First impression is really good. Like it's a really smooth bike. It feels like it's more well built than it looks, you know? My first thought, it being so cheap and everything, you'd expect it to be kind of like a bumpy ride and whatever, kind of just like a cheap e-bike would feel. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like a really well-made e-bike. It's got that suspension seat that actually does really well. There's like no vibrations and you really don't feel bumps on this thing at all. So yeah, and it's a 52 volt system, so it's a little more powerful than most e-bike. Yeah, so far, really impressive, but let's get this thing on an actual ride real quick, and I'll bring you guys along for that, get a top speed run and all that good stuff. See if I can jump up this curb right here, no problem. The wheels are a little smaller than usual, but easy. This bad boy off-roads, I'll tell you what.
For how small it is, it's not slow. It's definitely not slow. For 800 bucks, it's a really thin framed bike, but like the actual stance of it is pretty big. Like I'm 6'3" and this fits me just fine. And I got room to spare too. I can put handlebars up higher and seat up higher. Or I can put it lower too. Literally a bike for almost every single height. Obviously I say that knowing this is, you know, this is definitely a light duty type bike. But it does not feel bad by any means. Like it's a really smooth ride. And I can tell it cuts out at 20, so it's limited to 20 miles per hour. It gets up to 20 miles per hour quickly because you can feel it like stop at 20. It's got plenty of power for 800 bucks. Not bad. Like right now, I'm really impressed. Just as far as the first, you know, feel of this thing, it's extremely smooth. The seat is comfortable. Really not much vibration or real bumps at all worth mentioning. And it's got plenty of power to get up to 20 miles per hour. For 800 bucks right now, I'm not complaining at all. It's a fun bike. Like, no complaints so far. For $800, I'm gonna just say, like, first impression and speed and overall just ride comfort and everything, right now that's completely worth it. If we get anything over like 20 miles or something on the range test, I will be very satisfied for the price. I'm probably gonna say that a lot this video for 800 bucks because that's cheap for an e-bike that has, you know, decent specs. Looks like we're tracking. Let's go ahead and do it. Obviously, a top speed will be like 20 miles per hour, but just to see how accurate the speedometer is on the bike, so we know if we can trust the odometer on the bike for the range test, it's always nice to know. That's literally the top speed right here. Like we got up to that within a few seconds. All right, survey says, yeah, 20.1 miles per hour. That's exactly right. More and more, the Engwe bikes are kind of the brand I'm starting to recommend now. 20 miles per hour is exactly what it was limited, 20 miles per hour. And just the overall build quality and everything on Engwe's for the price that they put them at is really not bad. The M20 was one of my favorite e-bikes of all time from Engwe. And that thing's going for like $900 or something now. It doesn't come as a surprise, I guess, that Engwe is, you know, still being very fair with their prices for the specs that they're giving you. The only thing that I feel like they might have cut a cost on for this thing is just the frame itself, like just it being so thin and whatnot. But I mean, it doesn't make the bike feel bad at all, and it makes it more portable having a thin frame and everything. So like, this bike is very optimized, like very optimized. It's a good performing bike. There's really not much more to say about it. I'm just gonna get this thing on a range test, and if it gets anything over 20 miles of range, this is, I mean, it's another highly recommend for engwe, you know?
All right, guys, well, I just wrapped up the full range test on the Engwe L20 2.0, and we got 19.2 miles on the odometer now. So right around 19 miles is what I got on this thing. So I would call this thing really a short range commuter. It's really comfortable to ride. It's definitely not underpowered at all. The hill test I always do on these bikes, it handled it really well. It didn't even drop a mile per hour. Most e-bikes drop at least a few miles per hour going over it because they can't sustain the speed. This one's a 52 volt system. It handled it just fine. As far as ride quality, I have no complaints at all. If around 19 miles is satisfactory for your needs, for $800, I don't know if you could buy like a more comfortable, more practical bike than this one. It's worth noting, I guess, on the range test, I guess I'll just fault Chinese hardware, but this screw right here loosened up, and so the headlight, eventually when it rattled loose enough, I just took it off and kind of wrapped it around there. So I'll probably put thread locker on it this time, but overall I really have no complaints as far as powertrain goes, and just overall ride comfort on this thing, like no complaints at all. So that is the Engwe L20 2.0. So for $800, the ride quality and just the overall specs and stuff that you're getting on this thing, not a bad deal at all. I know there's a lot of options out there, but I've kind of grown to trust Engwe as a brand. I think this is their third bike that I've reviewed, and so far each of them have been like the best in their own way, you know? The M20 was my personal favorite because it was such a cool, like, just the motorcycle style, and for such a low price for the specs you get. That's kind of just how Engwe has been, you know, at least in my mind. You just get some really good specs for the price that you're paying on the Engwes. And this really is no different. It's really good. It's great in its own little way. Obviously not my personal style if I were to buy one for myself, but if you're into the step through folding designs and everything, like, I feel like this is one of the better ones on the market that you could possibly buy. And Engwe is kind of starting to be a name brand in my head, just because all of their bikes are good quality for really good prices. Like, I have really no complaints. The powertrain is really good. The frame is minimalist and kind of optimized for just practicality. You got 2 racks on this thing, and it's a light frame so you can pick it up and do whatever you want, throw it in a car. I don't know many bikes that are this practical, and you get the performance and the comfort for $800. Like, the last thing I want to show you guys is just the folding mechanism. I haven't even folded it up myself, but if you were to fold it up yourself, turn it off, open that sucker up. Guess I'll fold this sucker down first, and then that'll fold like this. And then again, because it's a pretty light bike, it's really not, like, you could pick it up and put it in a car. Like, I bet you my mom could even do this, you know, and just put it in her car or whatever. Simple as that, dude. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check this bike out more and look at the specs for yourself. I know I don't go over the specs and everything in depth, so if you guys want to jump over there and see more about this bike, go for it. And it is a link through my channel, so they know when you guys are clicking on it from my video. And so if you did buy a bike using that link, it would help fund the McLaren build. Just a little bit, like 50 bucks or something. Yeah, that's gonna do it. I'll catch you guys in the next McLaren build series video. Thanks for watching.